All right, Grand Rising, everyone. This is Ron. It is Saturday, September 27th, and a little after 10 a.m. So let's get started, see if we have any questions. I think on last week, Pastor talked about the energy that we have reclaimed. What do we do with it? And we looked at that and kind of talked about that for a few minutes. I think that was the last thing that we discussed, although we had several other topics that we went into. But from last week and any time or something new that you may have seen this week, any questions or comments?
Ron, this is Evelyn, Grand
Hey,
Rising family, and honor to the ancestors. I have a question. Um, I know a lot is going on in the world with the all the distractions and everything. Where
uh-huh.
does the scripture, "Oh, taste and see that the Lord is good"? What does that really mean?
Where is that, Evelyn? You know right offhand?
Yes, sir. Because I was looking at it this morning. Um, that's Psalm 34:8. Oh, taste and see that the Lord is good. Because we have to remember that even though we see things on the surface that's happening and we know these things must be and take place, we can't forget who we are, as Pastor always tell us, y'all always tell us. And even though we see these things on the surface of the earth, that we need to remember who we are and that the God or source is good. So that's why I wanted just clarity on that. That's my question. Thank you.
You say 34 and 8, right?
um,
Yes, sir.
Okay.
actually talking about is experiencing the Creator, not forgetting the self-existing one. It's like tasting has nothing to do with, of course, uh, food or anything of that nature. It's talking about our experience, and it's like saying, "Forget me not." And we have tried everything, and except tasting the all existing one. We have done everything. We marched, we cursed, we fought, everything. So it's now what we are doing is tasting the self-existent one, and we are realizing who we are as a result of that. Does that make sense, Evan?
It does. So experiencing is the tasting is the experiencing of the yeah.
You say honor to the ancestors. That what you're doing now is reminding yourself of this of the presence of the ancestors. Why would you do that? Because you've had experience with them, and you know that they are faithful. Um, we there are some things that we should be doing in that regard, and quite a bit was shown, and I made a couple of notes of what I saw. Um, First of all, we we must seek forgiveness from our ancestors because we have elevated everybody in the Bible that was given to us: Moses, um, the prophets. We have elevated them as being spiritual beings when none of them ever existed. So we were talking about it and revering people who never existed. And even though we were not honoring the ancestors, what we were doing actually is demonizing them because we were taught that it was diabolic for us to embrace ancestors. It was sorcery. We demonized them. And we did it not because we wanted to. We did it because we didn't know any better. And even though we didn't know any better, our ancestors still protected us. They still guided us. They did not abandon us. And the reason they did not abandon us because they knew that we had no clue as to what was happening in terms of our demonizing them. Not only was our ancestors with us then, but to this day, they're still with us. So now that we acknowledge them, we're able to be beneficiaries of their presence. If we were not acknowledging them now, we wouldn't be able to overcome the barbarians with spiritual knowledge. We would still be trying to battle using the weapons of their warfare and not the weapons of our warfare. And as a result of that, we see a movement in terms of changing. We tried to use all the tactics that were given to us, yet it didn't work. So now we understand that we must use the power of energy, the power of our spiritual nature, knowledge, existence. So doing that helps us to move to a place where we are able to stop battling as mere humans and understand that we are gods and embracing or reclaiming the consciousness of the earth. We talked about the reclamation of energy, but there's something else we have to reclaim. Before I say anything else, are there any questions? Why are we here? Why are we in America? Who are we? We have done something that no one on the face of the earth has ever done, except those of us who are in this country. And the reason I exclude the Caribbean people, our people in the Caribbean, is because they held on to a large portion of the culture that they brought from Africa, but in America, we didn't, very little. First of all, this is our country. That's one thing that we have not talked about. Just as we reclaim the energy, I've been shown that we are to reclaim our country. We are here to reclaim it from the barbarians. We are here to reclaim everything. What am I saying? We were the occupants of this country before the invaders came. And they convinced us that there were none of us on this in this land until they brought us here as slaves. That's not true, and all of us know that now. Why did they try to convince us of that? It's because they wanted us to feel as though we don't belong. I mean, think about it. Right after the Constitution was ratified, the first bill that Congress passed was the National Naturalization Act, which says that only white people can be citizens. So all of this went into the mix of convincing us that this is not our land. We have no claim to it. We need to go back to the continent of Africa. However, us being here before the invaders came, that means that we were here before anyone, even the ones that they call Native Americans now. We were here long before they got here. And when I say we are to reclaim our country, we are to have dominance in this land. This land is not to be governed by invaders. It's to be governed by those the children of Akabelon, the children of the sun. Not only that, we have developed a culture. When we came here, all our culture was taken away from us as slaves. Our culture, our language, everything was taken away from us. But we developed a culture that the world envies now. Nobody's ever done that. No one. So how did we do that? We did it because there was our energy is in this land even before we were brought here as enslaved people. So even the language of English, English does not belong to European. English is our language. We own it. Every language on the face of the earth came from Kemet. There was no language in Europe until Africans went into Europe just to civilize it. So the bottom line that I'm making every effort to express is that our reclamation includes the consciousness of this land. It includes the governance of this land. It includes reclaiming the language of this land. And when we do that, we will be using the energy that we've already reclaimed to lay a foundation for what is to come and what is to be based upon what it was before it was invaded. And we have to get past like saying that, when people say that they're not an African, that means that they are totally oblivious of who they are. John Henry Clark actually said that to say that you're not an African means that you're a sick person, because you never see any Italian saying he's not an Italian, even though he's been here all his life. So there are things that we look at that must look at that belongs to us. We have to also face the reality that when we say that we are American, we are American, not in terms of what America is, with not a culture, what America is in terms of its brutality, but in terms of the land base, that's who we are because we have always been here. So I think that we probably need to look at ourselves in a more positive way, understanding that, understanding that you don't have to be born on the continent of Africa to be an African, just like a Russian does not have to be born in Russia to be a Russian. A Russian speaks Russian. Italian speaks Italian. And we speak English. And when my efforts to learn Swahili was based upon my desire to speak an African language. And I felt like that would have made me um, more conscious of being an African. But we don't need that because any language that is spoken is our language. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yes, yeah, it does. Can I make a comment? Um, it's, it's something that you said that we should ask for forgiveness from the ancestors because I've been finding myself doing that and I didn't know why. But I always think about the Hawaiian mantra, Ho'oponoponopono, and it says that I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you, and I love you. And I didn't understand why I kept saying that, but since you're saying what you're saying, it makes sense now. That's all I wanted to say. Thank you.
Thank you. It's not that they were going to abandon us because we did what we did. But now that we understand what happened and the reason it happened, that's the only reason I mentioned the idea of seeking forgiveness. I, we, I mean, we've read the Bible and we see how David killed the giant, but we have allowed the giant to kill us. We feared the giant when we were told not to fear the giant by the story of David. The other thing I want to say about that, and then I'm done, is that the Bible itself was not written with names from the beginning. There was no Moses, there was no Abraham, there was no David, there was no Mary, none of that. Every bit of it was to draw out in place of the name Moses. All of it was simply a book of spirituality, and it was manipulated by adding names and by changing what was being said from the beginning, meaning from Kemet. One of the things that John Henry Clark said is that if Jesus was crucified 2,000 years ago, if he can go back 3,000 more years before his birth, he could write his own autobiography because all of it existed before there was even a thought of a Jesus. All of these things that we have embraced, we don't realize that when we talk about it in terms of people, we are talking exoteric, esoteric. You know what I'm trying to say? Instead of exoteric, instead of esoteric. We are talking in material language as opposed to speaking in spiritual language. If we truly read the scriptures, we see the spiritual nature of them. You hear us talking about it all the time. That what this concept of Jesus means in terms of deliverer, what the concept of crucifixion is talking about. All of this was written to teach us how to be spiritual, to teach us about who we are. When we talk about the teachings of Ron, talked about the teachings in Kemet, how the children were taught and how young they were when they were big, when they started teaching them. What we will see is what they taught them, because all of it is in the Bible, minus the manipulation. So that's pretty much what I wanted to say in reference to the questions that were asked in the beginning.
I would suppose then that the forgiveness may be the catalyst of the reclaiming the energy and the land. Uh, Land, especially the land took on a different meaning to me when you said that, because I thought about consciousness.
Yes.
Uh, so the forgiveness part allows us to go forward by going backwards, sort
Yeah.
of, you know? So that's just something to think about. That's pretty strong.
Give me a moment. I have to check on Phoebe. She just sent me a text.
Okay. Anyone else? Questions or comments?
Hey, Ryan. This is Charles.
Hey,
I
Chuck.
have a question.
Okay.
Doing good, man. How you doing?
All right.
I have a question about what said and and the way he said the Bible was manipulated and changed. Now, that part that we was took from Africa, brought across the ocean and changed. And and when we got here, they ain't changed our identity. They ain't changed us being love and kindness with each other and everything that we learned in Africa, like I said, the African and the ancestors, and why was that written? What was the reason for that to be written, and why are we in so much turmoil now?
When you say was the reason for it to be written, are you talking about the scriptures?
The scripture of that saying that we were brought over here in chains, and 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 the scripture was saying that he gonna bring us back to us, bring us back to him if he has to put you in chains and bring you across the sea. And now I know that we're talking about Africa. I guess you understand what I'm saying.
Yes, sir.
See, I want to get the understanding of that if the Bible being manipulated so badly.
I
Well,
think. Go ahead, Pastor. I'm
go ahead.
sorry. No,
Uh,
I was just going to say I think that is even further proof that the scriptures were written for us, and no matter how they were manipulated or edited or whatever you want to call it, the truths in them can still be pulled out, even though they've been covered over by all the stuff we've talked about. So that to me is further evidence of who we are, and the explanation of the helps explains the journey that we're on. But I think that was the scripture you're talking about, Charles, was a message directly for us and to us. I'm sorry,
but
Pastor. Go ahead.
it's no longer there, remember?
Yeah, yeah.
So what happened to it? We gotta be careful how we speak. When we are together, we talk about putting things in the macro to change things. Am I right? Yeah, you're right, James.
Right.
Uh, so what makes us think that during our everyday life, that thing what we say is not put in the macro? We talk here about changing everything, about lifting humanity up. But then when we are not together, uh, we're afraid of Trump. We're afraid of what may come tomorrow. We're afraid of losing a job. All these fears that we talk about is inviting negativity into our life. We cannot talk one way while we are together on Saturday, Sunday, and Monday, knowing that we put things in the macro for the benefit of humanity, and then talk differently when we are not together. We have to make up our mind. Are we going to create with words for positivity, or are we going to create with words negatively? Regardless of what we say or how we say it, it sends a signal to the universe, whether we are together or not. So words are powerful, and we must become more cognizant of what we say and how we say it. This is just as important during the week as it is on the weekend. Does that make sense?
Yes.
We have to be cognizant of that. Um, um, the words that we speak determine who we believe that we are. If you know who you are, there are some things you're just not going to say. Any questions or comments about any of that thing that was said today? Oh, and Charles, I forgot. I concur with Ron about that scripture, Charles. But that brings something else up to me. And that is, we were here. So why was it necessary for us to be brought here as enslaved people? Is it because and let me use it very loosely, okay? Was it because um, Moses had to come into the courts of Pharaoh? What about the story that talks about the Hebrews who were carried into Egypt? Suppose that story, manual suppositions, this is the reality of it. That particular story is telling us that you are going to be in spiritual bondage. You're going to be in a cramped space because you're not going to be able to do the things that you did before you were put in this cramped space, before you were enslaved. And you are going to learn everything about the system of governance in this tight place. And the reason it is so tight is because you're not going to have space to do anything other than learn the system. And the time will come when you will be charged with drawing out of the people everything that the system has indoctrinated them with. And in order for you to do that, you're going to have to cross into a different lifestyle, crossing the Red Sea, into a different lifestyle. And when you do that, leaving behind that material / religious world, you are now in a wilderness all alone. And in that wilderness all alone, you're with people, you're in the midst of your people who are still bound by that indoctrination. And it's up to you to bring peace to humanity. It's up to you to bring balance. It's up to you to reintroduce the people as to who they are. And when you do that, the day will come when you will see that the consciousness is beginning to change. The land of promise is actually a consciousness of not only who you are, but what your responsibilities are in terms of having been introduced to the method of governance, and now knowing who you are, so that you can bring humanity to that place where they, as well as you, will live by the principles of Maya. There will be battles that you're going to have to fight before you get to that place where balance is manifested. During those battles, don't fall by the wayside. Don't fear the faces of those who sought to enslave you and still do. Don't concern yourself with that. Yes, there will be those who don't want to go into this land of promise. There are those who don't want to change their consciousness. They don't want to be aware of who they are. And the reason they don't is not because they hate themselves as much as they've been taught to hate themselves. And when they see the power in the energy forces that bring change, they then will begin to become, at the very least, curious and seek to understand how is this happening? Why is this taking place? So you don't have to leave the land that belongs to you, the land mass that belongs to you. You don't have to leave that. What you do have to leave behind you is the indoctrination that you have received. Suppose that story, no supposition. That's what that story is about. Can you see that, or can you agree with that? That's not rhetorical. I need to know that you understand what I'm trying to say. Oh, come on.
This is Vermel. I believe I understand. Question that came to my mind while you were stating this. This applies to the entire world. When you say not leave our land, you are talking about a Kabbalah, right? Not just the U.S. landmass.
Talk about both. And the reason I'm talking about both is if you read what was translated in the scriptures, what you will see is that this place called Egypt was a world power. It was the strongest force army on the earth. So I'm talking about America more so than the rest of the earth, because America manipulates everything. America owns everything, not because America is smart, but because America has weapons that nobody else in the world has. And being in the midst of this, when we began to manifest change, and people are seeing that this thing that has touted itself as being the strongest force on earth, a force that to be reckoned with, to the extent that no one could defeat it, in the midst of it is being dismantled and don't even know why or how it's being dismantled. And it's being done by spirituality. And America is the heartbeat of the European. And once that heartbeat stops, then there is a sense of knowing that will permeate the earth. and people will begin to embrace a more balanced way of not only interacting, but a more balanced way of it of governing the rest of the earth. So I hope I answered your question. I seem to be struggling this morning.
You did.
Thank you. Nicholas,
Yes, I have a question.
hold on a second. Evan.
Oh, no, it's okay. She can go before me. I want to
Go ahead, Evan.
introduce someone else.
Oh, I'm sorry, Nick. I didn't see your hand. I'm on my phone.
Oh yeah.
But anyway, thank
No,
you.
it's okay. No, I want you to go first because I think it'll be more relevant, I think, to what was just said.
Okay, so when scripture says in Isaiah 9, chapter 9, verse 6 through 7, which describes a coming of a leader, right? And we all know that they were talking about Jesus. But my question to you is, when it says that a child is born and the government will be on the shoulders, and can you just tell me what that is? Because it says here that which describes the coming of a great leader, the Messiah, who will bring peace, justice, and an everlasting reign. And let me say that again. The coming of a great leader, the Messiah, who will bring peace, justice, and an everlasting reign. Is that us? And is that what we're doing? And is this the same thing as bringing balance? Because when you talk about the government, I know there's two. There's a spiritual government and a physical government. So can you shed light on that? Because that's the scripture that came to my mind.
You said what's that scripture?
Isaiah 9, verses 6 and 7.
I can tell you before I get there that yes, it is talking about us. The idea of a boy or a child being born speaks of the descendants of those who have been imprisoned or been in bondage. We are the Messiah. Being messianic means that you're a leader, that you're a deliverer. And deliverance comes as a result of what we are doing. And our efforts are to do what? Shoulder the responsibilities that is necessary for people to be governed in a more balanced way. And all the adjectives that describe what we have been taught is Jesus, the man, a wonderful counselor, mighty God, everlasting Father, Prince of Peace, all of those adjectives is talking about the deliverer. And if we are deliverance, then it is indeed talking about us. Does that make sense, Ellen?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Vic. Vic?
Oh, good morning, everybody. Grand Rising. I just wanted to bring up in relation to the idea of the ancestors being present to assist us in this spiritual revolutionary practice that we're engaged in. Did you all see that Assata Shakur passed away this week?
Yes.
If you don't know, Assata Shakur is the mother of Tupac Shakur.
Yeah.
And she's been living in Cuba in exile because she was, wanted by the FBI. etc. But she was part of the Black Revolutionary movement, and that is why she had to flee the country. But I wanted to bring that up because I see, I believe anyway, a pattern in the as it relates to the consciousness that she represents and is now a part of and is able to assist with, now that she has joined the plane of the ancestors. And I think her passing, as well as if you've seen that movie being advertised, One Battle After Another, that is I think Leonardo DiCaprio is in it, but he plays a white husband of a Black woman who was herself, I think, a Black revolutionary, and that whole movie is about essentially resisting a fascist takeover of the country from the perspective, from the perspective of Black women in particular and Black consciousness in the United States. I think it's interesting that these two things are kind of coinciding, because as Assata Shakur joins the ancestors, we have the example of the movie, which, and all of them are to some extent products of what is going on in our collective subconscious. We have that example of the movie coming out that represents that attitude and that mindset of being able to resist. But as we've just been speaking about, it seems like the consciousness that needs to, well, that is subtly taking root, is that the battlefield, for lack of a better term, is not a physical one. It is one that is mental and spiritual in the way that we've been speaking about. And I think things like that movie serve to influence the nature of how we think. At the same time, they are representative of a particular consciousness that has emerged at some level within our sort of collective awareness. So my point with that was, I don't think these two things are coincidental, and I think they represent at a subtle level, at a sort of subconscious level, in that it's not immediately recognized by us collectively, but it may be recognized by us in settings like these, that battle is being waged spiritually, and in terms of the consciousness that is needed, that will be able to reclaim its rightful position in this context that we exist within. So thank you.
So based on what you just said, Pastor came in this morning and said, this is our land and we have to reclaim it. Pull that in. If that's talking about consciousness, is that related to?
Absolutely. A Kabbalah is a consciousness. The land is a consciousness, because all of this physical experience is to get a bit more metaphysical, is a projection from spirit. For simplistic, to keep it simple, the realms of spirit. This is yet another manifestation of these things, and the land is a consciousness. So the African consciousness was developed in Africa as the result of the sort of, the land reflects the consciousness and vice versa. So it's all related to that idea that wherever we are entering in a different context of consciousness. And so since the African consciousness is what permeated the earth before all of this adversarial consciousness became more dominant, then it is a for lack of a better term, an order given by the creator to dominate the land that you exist within. It's which of course doesn't mean physical fighting necessarily, because that's that is always dealt with. That's always at the level of the symptom of the problem. That's the material manifestation of the problem. And until the source of the problem is truly dealt with, it will keep coming back. So to dominate the land is to deal with the source of the problem spiritually, and to resist the tendency that we all have to want to be like the context we exist within, which in this case means like we want to be like the white sort of consciousness that we are speaking about. We have to resist that, and then reclaim our Africanness, which is what we've been talking about for so long. The consciousness of Africans, and then in this context here in America specifically, because we have such a huge influence over the rest of the world, reassert the dominance of the consciousness of the African, or a Kabbalan, which is, put simply, a harmonious relationship with the creator and with each other, as opposed to an antagonistic one.
Yeah. Mm.
Thank you. Like that.
Thank you.
Thank you, Nick.
The other thing with that is forgiveness is intricate to what Nick said. Forgiveness means letting go of, loosening all of those preconceived impressions of form or physicality. In other words, as Nick said, all the things that people have put in our minds, that, you know, pull yourself up by your own bootstraps, all of these things that heretofore would tie us to the physical land and the physical understanding of what it means to be successful, etc. But in order to not only attain it, but maintain that level of consciousness, that dominance over the land, the dominance over the consciousness of a Kabbalan, we've got to let go of everything that has impeded that. And that means letting go, forgiving, giving up, putting aside all of that, these physical manifestations, in order to create the space for the spiritual envisioning. Because as long as we hold on to the physical, there's no room. There's not room for if we hold on to the physical, that takes up the space in us. And
Yeah.
I'm searching for the words, but when we let go, when we can't just say it in words. We have to say it in action and in intent. The forgiveness is intricately tied to the dominance of a Kabbalan. And so, regardless of what the pain has been, regardless of what the feelings have been, what the hate has been, regardless of what we may have had physically in this world and or not had physically, we just have to be willing to let that go. That's not a part of the space we need to create in order to surround ourselves, encapsulate, be totally involved in the Kabbalan mindset that we are. So it's like Charles was talking about the chains that and the scripture that talked about the chains. Well, these are the chains also. The chains right now. We are in chain right now when we can't release all of these ideas about how we were miseducated. All these ideas about what Nick just talked about as it relates to the vision that the European mindset has given us. That's not a vision, that's a chain. And so we have to understand that we've got to release those chains, and releasing that chain is not only forgiving those who perpetuated that mindset, but forgiving ourselves for receiving that, and for embracing that. And so forgiveness is intricately tied to embracing the mindset of Kabbalah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Grand Rising, everybody. I just wanted to add to that too, because not only forgiveness, but remembering our ancestors, because it is through our ancestors that we can reconnect to the mindset of Al-Kabilan. And when Pastor was talking about our belief in ancestors was demonized, I think it's because they wanted us to forget that part of ourselves, forget that part of our consciousness, when all along the scriptures refer back to ancestors. All through the Old Testament, it refers back to ancestors. I mean, look at all the genealogies they include in the scriptures, so that people refer back to their ancestors. So it's there, even though they wanted us to forget. But it is our ancestors who remind us of who we are, and enable us to recover the Al-Kabilan mindset. Anyway, thanks.
Thank you.
Charles again. So what we all been saying and talking about,
Hey, Charles,
it go back to.
can you speak up just a little bit, please?
Can you hear me now?
Yes, sir.
It's just like we in this world going through these worldly things, but it's saying that we're in this world, but we're not of this world. So that's mean we are the world of the Kabbalah. But we going through these changes, these attributes, this chaos in this world. We're not up all that. So that's what I'm seeing, and that's what I'm hearing. That's what I'm feeling.
What does that mean? To be in this world, but not of this world. That means that we are not taking part in perpetuating the bondage that the world has labored under for all of these years. Being in this world means that we are the force, the spiritual force that changes or that frees humanity from the bondage that it has experienced. Isn't it not? Is it not funny that the very people who are destined to free humanity are the ones who has been in the depths of bondage longer than anyone? See, we look at the slave trade, the European slave trade that we call the transatlantic slave trade. We look at that. However, the first people to invade and enslave Africans were Asians. And that was 800 years before the European slave trade, or before the Portuguese began selling us as slaves. And after that, it was the Arabs who enslaved us. And after that, it was the Arabs who sold us. It was the Mohammedans who sold us primarily into slavery, because we were not embracing what the Arabs forced upon them from the ideas of Arab emperors. So this idea of enslavement, this idea of bondage, has been on the shoulders of the African for thousands of years. And as a result of that, Creator is saying, you have not completed your task in this earth. So I'm going to allow a place in this earth to become the most ruthless enslavers that's ever been on earth. And if that's what it takes for you to be in chains, carried across the great river, in order for you to see who you are, then that's what will happen. And here we are. Does that make sense, guys? And here we are.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, Alkebulan being the garden of life, and in the midst of the garden of life, words are spoken. Do not eat of this tree, because then you will know good and evil. Don't eat from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. In other words, don't embrace the concept of good and evil, because if you do, you will know the difference, meaning that you will birth it into the earth. All that took place before the physical body was brought into the earth. And if rightness is the good and unrightness is good and evil, then if we look at what happened in terms of the birth or the evolution, however you want to call it, of humanity, the Asian, and that is used that loosely, the Asian would be the knowledge of good and evil. And the further you move from the African, for the less melanin you have, you become pure evil. So now, the one that's halted between two opinions, the ones who know good and evil, fears the evil, the pure evil, and it becomes a perpetuator of that evil, and we call it racism that's perpetuated by Japanese, Chinese, etc. Filipinos, we call it racism that they embrace. They know good from evil, and they know good and evil because they expressed that before they were subdued by European. And the idea of evil itself is Europeans. They represent the concept of evil, unripened. And it is up to, it was anyway, up to the firstborn to bring that evilness to an end. And it did not happen. So now we are charged with that, to bring it to an end. And it's ironic how Asians, people in between Europeans and Africans, how they have taken on the role of Europeans and are the guardians of racism, and does not want to come into contact with people who look like us, because they have been taught that we are evil as opposed to being God. Now, the European knows who we are. European knows that. There's no question about it. That is the reason the European took spirituality and created within it a system of religion that would engulf everyone by virtue of force. And now we have become those who have the mindset of a cable line, but the determination of Elohim to free this earth of the control that evilness have on it or unrighteousness has on it. That's our responsibility. And that responsibility is ours 24/7, 7 days a week. It's not just the weekend when we are together. This is our responsibility, our journey at all times. And I can't emphasize it too much that the energy that was in this land that we reclaimed is the energy that the Cosmic Mother intends for us to use in order to reclaim the land as well. Because if the consciousness doesn't change, the actions doesn't change. If the consciousness doesn't change, the reason the actions don't change is because the thoughts haven't changed. And it's imperative that we embrace the reality of reclaiming energy and consciousness, energy and land, and recognizing that our communication, even though it's English that we communicate with in the earth, our true communication is through spirituality. And regardless of where we are, when we communicating the earth with these languages. It is the communication of the African. And so what we are doing now by reclaiming the language that's been called English and that has been attributed to Europeans, by reclaiming it, we are also changing the nature and the negative impact that it has had throughout the world, concentrated on people who look like us. So we are rather being exposed to everything that we must embrace at this period of time, because we are on the brink of the manifestation of balance. It looks like nothing has changed, but quite frankly, everything has changed. And if you truly look at the environment that we live in, everything has changed. And the change is not how we live in this physical earth. The change is that everyone, including those who are not seeking spirituality, are able to see the evilness in this environment being perpetuated by the evil nature of the European mindset. Questions or comments? Is that clear?
Yes.
Thank you.
I have a question, Pastor Jay.
Mhm.
So what's happening in the universe, what's happening in the universe, like the distractions and politics, the dirtiness, the corruption, is what the European mindset seeing is a mirror of them or it? Does that make sense what I said?
The latter part I need some more clarity on, but let's differentiate between the environment and the universe. Because
You see how,
what's happening here is not happening in the universe.
so the things that we see, like the current affairs, like Trump, Trump and all them and everybody being exposed and the stuff going on with the military and all that stuff, politicians, whatever. Is this a mirror to the European mindset? What's being done in the world?
No, this is not a mirror at all. This is reality, or a false reality that we are seeing. When you see something happen physically, you make a determination whether you embrace it or not. What's happening is the eye of humanity is open. And Europeans know it, but they don't realize totally what they know. That's why they call it being woke. We are awakening to what has been going on ever since we were enslaved from the beginning. Ever since we were first enslaved, let me put it that way. So if it were a mirror, they would see themselves, and even if it is a mirror, them seeing themselves has not changed them. It is up to us to continue the journey of being at home that brings them to a place where they desire to change. And the only reason that there is a deep desire to change is because Europeans are experiencing the same things that we have experienced since we've been here. A dictatorship, controlled movement, controlled speech, manipulation of the system for the benefit of a few. the notice this, that one of the biggest arguments from the Europeans in this country in particular is that you're taking money from us. When they talk about you taking Medicare, Medicaid, when you are reducing access to a social net, you are taking money. That's another way of taking money. As long as they felt like we were the dominant people who were going to be adversely affected by their movements, white people didn't care. The moment that they started getting a taste of what we have been living with since we've been here, it's then that they started resisting, because of what they're going through. Now, keep in mind that they have not made the connection yet, that they are going through what we have lived with forever. They see dictatorship coming. We see it as always being here in reference to us. They have to suffer some more, a lot more, before they are able to embrace the reality of their experiences. And the reality of their experiences is us. Why do you think that you can ask any white person, if I were to give you $50 billion, would you exchange with the color with me, the color of my skin? Will you take the color of my skin and give me yours? Why do you think no? They either don't say anything or they say no. And the reason they don't say anything or say no is because they know exactly what's happening to us. Because if they didn't, then it wouldn't be a problem changing the color of our skin. They have to suffer before they will engage change. I'm done. Evelyn, does that help you?
Oh, yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. It may sound cruel, but so be it. My desire for Europeans in this country in particular to suffer, I mean, within the next few weeks, to suffer more than they ever suffered since they've been on this earth. That's my desire, for them to suffer. Look at the suffering of the Palestinians. The Palestinians have a place, a city, with people who dark like us. El Ahid, I believe it is. And it's called the city of the slaves, the town of slaves. And that's the place where we are relegated to live. And they are racist to us more so, or just as much as any European on the face of this earth. And they are definitely suffering. Now, the babies had nothing to do with this. But the energy that was directed toward us, that energy of evilness that was directed toward us, they must pay for that. Their mindset is no different than the mindset of the ones who killing them when it comes to us. So when you look at the Palestinians in Michigan, their mindset is no different than the mindset of white people. And that's why Palestinians are where they are right now. If there is no suffering, there is no change. Frederick Douglass said you can't have the rain without getting wet. Our hearts are so tender until we don't want anyone to suffer. But if suffering brings about change, then we should never have any problem with the concept of suffering. I don't want anybody to suffer just because we did, but I do want them to suffer enough to desire change. I'm done.
Well, I have another question, Pastor Jay. And this is to you, Nick, or whoever. What's the symbolism of the people walking out while Netanyahu was speaking? What does that symbolize?
Protest.
Yeah.
Also awakening.
And also the realization that it's us. We're the problem. The biggest one. When all those Muslim resistance fighters who were created by us, either directly or indirectly, said we are the great Satan, they were correct. We're the biggest concentration of the most sort of violent, evil people on the face of the earth. Everybody knows it. And until we change, nothing will, the course of the earth cannot be corrected. It'll be us starting World War III. It won't be anybody else. It will be us starting it. And we will blame everyone else. So, no, it's us. This is
When
it.
you say us, you mean the Americas? And I'm not talking about the United States of America. I'm talking about the Americas. There's a difference.
The lands dominated by the European Neanderthal confused mindset.
And that the Neanderthal mind is planning to attack Venezuela.
Yeah.
Not just on the ocean, but they talk about bombing what they designate as what enclaves for drug producers. So that's the mindset I think that you are talking about, right, Nicholas?
Yep. Didn't Trump just give a bunch of money to Argentina? Where did I see that? I forget, but I say that because Argentina is another one of those places that they want because it's already white enough. And Argentina was where a bunch of Nazis went after World War II, but Argentina is also one of those centers of the earth where they understand how energy works. Argentina has one of those big obelisks, just like the Vatican.
Yep.
And there's not a coincidence that a bunch of Nazis went there, and now all of a sudden we care about Argentina and we want to, use that as the sort of colonial sort of center wherein we can, begin colonizing the rest of South Africa or South America. But that's how it works.
Doesn't though the walkout at the UN represent kind of an awakening also? Because this is this is not the first time this has happened, but this is the first time it's happened en masse like this. And I think it's tied to the fact that African countries are finally awakening to the fact that they don't have to be reliant on the US or any European country. So they don't have to sit there and listen to that stuff. I think their mindset is being awakened too.
It is. When Nigeria wakes up, it's done. It's a done deal. When Nigeria wakes up, the whole of Africa will wake up. And it is our desire for that to happen soon. We're not just talking about history, guys. We're talking about spirituality that changes the elements of the adversary, that changes the evilness that's directed towards God. There's no way around it. We are Elohim. We've established that. And if we are known to Europeans, and we are, otherwise they would not be seeking this energy. That means that they know that they are adversaries of God. It is time for the false light that's deemed to be Lucifer. It's time for them to be cast outside of the boundaries of enlightenment. If you don't want to be enlightened, you live in your own world, but you will not have an adverse effect on the rest of the world. This whole thing in Ezekiel about the battle in heaven, that is not about something in the sky. We are engaged in that battle right now. And it is up to us to show the difference between true enlightenment as opposed to pseudo enlightenment. I think that we have done and are doing a pretty good job at exposing it. What do I mean by that? I'm not talking about individual people. I'm talking about what they created to battle with God. They created Christianity. They created Judaism. They created Islam to battle against God. And they pretend to be true messengers of God when they don't have an inkling as to how to be God, yet they know who God is and have sought to make God form an alliance with them in order for them to be able to control. All of these stories, the allegories in the scriptures, are about spiritual reality. So this thing about being cast out of heaven, the battle that took place in heaven, and the chariots, etc., all these chariots are vehicles for truth. They are vehicles that brings enlightenment to those who desire it. They are vehicles that brings enlightenment to those who are struggling with it. And they have to make a choice as to whether they're going to embrace the consciousness, continue to embrace the consciousness that we live in, or the consciousness who they were created to be. Is that clear?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Why Nigeria?
Because Nigeria, the focus in Africa during the enslavement, during the push of Islam was Nigeria. If you look at the forced migration from Eastern Africa, Northeastern Africa, when the Europeans came in to conquer that area, the push from that area was towards the west, towards West Africa, and the area that is called Nigeria, because it wasn't that until 1894. The area that's called Nigeria is the largest concentration of languages and people in one area. And the Nigerians were the ones who were primarily, the largest number came from Nigeria and Somalia. Not Somalia, Senegal, Ghana, that area. And right now, Nigeria has the resources, the more resources than any other section of that continent. It is the largest area state in Africa. And the Nigerians are the ones, and the Congo primarily, are the ones that Europeans have concentrated on controlling. I think in Nigeria, there are, 1,500 different languages in Nigeria alone. So you talk about, if you talk about 1,500 different languages, you're talking about 1,500 different aspects to a culture. So Nigeria is the tip of the spear. I hope that helps you, Myra.
It does, and I believe like if we were to like trace a lot of our ancestries back, some of us or a lot of us have connections to Nigeria. That's all I want to share. Thank you.
And you're welcome. My dominant genes are from Nigeria. Yours also.
Correct.
Any other questions or comments? Nick?
I was just gonna say, I agree. Yeah, Nigeria has the resources, and if they stop using them in the way that sort of the Europeans do, then that is the
That's-
biggest domino on the African continent.
That's right.
So should this be something we're putting out in the macro?
That's what we're doing right now. Yes, ma'am.
Well,
I would
and Burkina Faso is right there beside Nigeria, so they can't exactly ignore all that's going on in Burkina Faso.
Right.
Yeah. And my final comment related to what you said just now, Myra, is I think the biggest thing that we have been doing, but the biggest thing we can focus on whenever we meditate or whenever we think about it to put in the macro is simply love and kindness and harmony, because that is the basis for the Kabbalah mindset. And if the vibration of our collective awareness in the earth vibrates that to a degree, then the negative stuff we deal with cannot even exist within this space that we dominate. That the positive and harmonious mindset dominates. There can be no resistance put up by the negative mindset to it. It has to leave. And that is what I believe really we're, like we say, the spiritual battle that we are engaged within is the shifting of that vibration. When we talk about the macro, we are attempting to influence the nature of the collective consciousness of the earth such that the demons, for lack of a better term, cannot find their any place to hold on to here.
So
Thank
look, in regards to what you just said, it is the, if we are the tip of the spear. We were brought here to bring harmony to humanity. That means also that in addition to the energy that we reclaimed from the district, we also have the authority to reclaim all the energy in the world that Europeans has used to hurt humanity or to control humanity. So the declaration today is we reclaim all the energy from Kemet to every space on the face of the earth. The Kemetan energy, the energy that was centered in Kemet and in Sudan, reclaim it. We reclaim all of it and bring to an end the war in Sudan. We reclaim the energy that they're searching for, as you spoke earlier, in Argentina also. So we are removing all of the defenses that it has, that Neanderthal mindset has used to dominate the earth. Can we say Ashe?
Ashe.
Ashe.
Ashe. We're just waiting for you to finish.
And this is real, Jim. This is real. This that we are doing is real. Watch and see how things change, but watch and see the manifestation of our desires. Watch and see how the European cookie crumbles under its own weight because there is no life in it to hold it together anymore.
So when you talk about reclaiming that energy, the consciousness as well, right? Throughout the world.
See, that's why I'm glad you brought that up, Ron. That's why it is imperative that we understand that the whole Akabalon is the whole earth.
Yeah.
It's the spiritual consciousness of the whole earth. And every piece of land that your feet touch belongs to you. And the first feet that was on the land were the feet of Africans worldwide. See where I'm coming from?
Mm-hmm.
So yes.
Right.
We have to embrace that we are the consciousness of it, Akabalon. We are the Akasic consciousness, period. Our teachers are our ancestors. I'm done.
Good discussion. Any final thoughts, anyone?
Ron, this is Angela. I just wanted to bring up that the hurricane. I think it's, I don't know how to pronounce this.
Imelda, Imelda. It
Mhm.
means universal battle or powerful fighters. They're supposed to think hit. Well, they say it's coming toward South Carolina.
Okay. Thank you, Angela. I hadn't been keeping up with that. I guess I didn't think it was when I think about that, I think it's well, I didn't think it had the impact they may think it's gonna have, but thank you. It might be something we need to consider.
Yeah, I didn't. I just heard somebody talking about it at work, and then my daughter brought it up. But yeah, I
Okay.
just thought it was just worth mentioning.
Thank you.
There's
Any
something
insight into that, y'all? Anybody?
there's something I wanted to comment about the three storms that are out there. Yesterday when they were talking about them not so much merging, but all three of them having an effect on
Mhm.
Imelda. I thought it was interesting that they called it a tropical cyclone. And it kind of made me sit up and pay attention to it's rare that we have that on our side of the world with three of them merging, like not merging, but impacting each other, affecting each other. And I thought that was rather interesting.
Hmm. Anybody? Any insight into that or any thoughts about that?
Well, I don't have any insight, but I wanted to know what we're feeling and what we feel our response should be, because I know that the governor has already declared a state of emergency for South Carolina and going into thinking that it's really going to impact. And I am saying no. And usually I feel when I'm to say no or when I'm to say this has to be. So I'm just curious as to what others may be seeing, feeling, or thinking along those lines.
Well,
This
it's like
is
go ahead,
well, you can
Angela.
go ahead.
Go ahead.
Oh, I would just get ready to say what Kathy was just asking about, that I don't feel like it's going to be what they think it's going to be. Mm-mm. So it's that.
I guess along the same lines, my thoughts were if you guys weren't talking about it, I didn't worry about it so much. I didn't pay as much attention to what the media was saying, because nobody called me or nobody said anything about it, so it didn't alarm me. But I am curious as to what you guys think.
I'm thinking like real. And when you had said, people that put so much pain and suffering on us, now it's coming back to them. I know it's gonna be casualty, but things got to happen so they will see and understand, because now they're hurting from all these storms. Used to be other countries hurting and they never thought about them, and now they hurt. So this right here is gonna make them hurt worse, because that's taking up a lot of money to rebuild again. That's how I see it.
Okay. Thank you, Charles.
When I thought about it, I simply said, not audibly, but within, whatever the ancestors decide, whatever the cosmic mother decide, I'm good with it. Those are my first thoughts.
Do
Now,
you feel something
Ashe.
different now?
if, Kathy, did you say that you felt it?
The last hurricane we had, all I kept hearing was, it's going to be what it needs to be, leave it alone. I've not heard that this time. And
What did you hear this time?
I felt, no, it's not going to be what, it may be catastrophic, but not on the level that they're expecting. And I just left it alone at that. And so that's why I was curious to know what others are hearing from the inside. I agree with what you said as far as what the ancestors and the cosmic mother deem. I mean, of course, we'll always acquiesce to that and allow that to be what it is supposed to be. But usually what I'm learning is that I have an inkling on the inside. I hear a knowing on the inside of how this thing is going to impact us. And I'm not having that inkling right now that it is just sit back and just wait and see. And that's why I don't know what I'm feeling right now. That's why I want to know what others are feeling. That's what I'm saying.
You know what I'm hearing with you? Is that don't shape it, just let it be what it is. That's kind of feeling that you have about what change is going to look like.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
That kind of feeling.
Okay.
Because usually when we're talking about storms, we are on the same page, all of us, usually. But it's here lately. If that has to take place in terms of cleansing, so be it. And what I mean by that is this. The people in North Carolina who are still suffering from the last hurricane, Helene, Trump folks. And they're upset now because Trump took the money back. So if that's what it takes for people to realize that he doesn't care about their suffering, then let it be. Because the things that really hurt Europeans is when their property is destroyed or taken away from them, and the government that they want to drown in the bathtub doesn't give them any money to fix their property. That's what gets them. When their business is destroyed and they have nowhere to turn to restart their business. Always material. And that's what's happening right now in North Carolina. And actually northern Greenville as well. I'll leave it at that.
Okay. Is there anything else, guys? Good discussion today. Good energy. Let's do it again tomorrow. Okay. Have a great day and look forward to seeing you at 11 a.m.
All right. You guys have a great day. See you.
Great day, everyone.
Take care.
Thank you.
Bye bye, everyone.
Thank you.